So we're doing this, it's a twist and it's like a switch around shirt upcycle. So you can do this on a t-shirt, you can do it on a shirt, you can do it on a dress. So a shirt dress. So this is something that I hope that you will find useful. So now what I have done is what we've done so far. I have already done the remove collars, take the collar off, like that. The collar is already off there. And I have taken my sleeve down to the length that I want. Yeah, you know what to do with that. So take that down, take the collar off, take the sleeve off. And then when you're done with that, I'll just start laying out my shirt on the table so you can see what I have done. So because I wanted to do so much today, I actually had worked ahead of myself. Right. So I have measured from my shoulder to just under my arm, about 2 inches under my armhole, and I've marked a point there. So use your tape measure to do that. Mark it on the side and in the middle to work so that it is in line with the side and where you have your buttons are, where you have your button stand there. So what you do then is you make sure that that's a straight line and you join that point there in the middle to that point on the side. So you can mark it with a pencil or you can mark it with pins. I always like to use pins and you'll see why, because then it just means you work much more quickly than having to get pencils and do all kinds of things. So there you are. So then what you do is you fold your shirt like that. Make the shoulders, put the shoulders so that they're, one on top of the other. Just as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's always good if you can make it really good, so that you have the shoulders at the same point there, underarm at the same point there, and then you also have your side seam right on top of the other side seam. So then you take your pin, put it right through there like that, go all the way to the center of the shirt. And that's why I use pins, because they're already there and I can work really quickly. So then if you notice that my mark here is not too close to the button and not to the button below it and not the button at the top, it allows you to have a centimeter of stitching there without affecting the button. So you allow yourself, let me just be very specific so that we all get it right. So you have to have about 2.5 centimeters from your button, from the top of your buttonhole, so that you can be able to then have some seam allowance. So where I've put my pins there, I'll be cutting just above the pins. So then take your scissors and cut it. Right. Once that is done, take your pins out. And then what you then do is you have your top of your shirt like that, and you have your bottom like this. So then the next thing you're going to do is you are going to switch your shirt around like this. Instead of having your buttons with the buttons at the front, it's the other way around. You keep the buttons closed on the bottom half, but keep the buttons open on the top half. So you know where your front is and where your back is there. And then you join your shirt. So this is what we're going to do. We're switching it around. It's a switch around, the twist. So one of the things that you will need to do is to mark your center mark. So what you do is you fold your shirt side seams together like that. Mark where the point is on the center back of your shirt. Take your scissors. If you don't want to ruin your shirt, not knowing whether you want to do a one of those raw seams or whether you want to. So what I would do is put a pin there, like I always do. So you take a pin and you put it there. And once that's in place, that will be the part that then, when you put your front of your shirt together, I think at this point, turn your shirt inside out because it will really help you be able to pin things together and see what they look like. So I'm going to make this a clean seam. I'm not going to make it a raw finish. Maybe I should. I can't decide. Maybe I'll do that. But this is where you have options. You give yourself, just think about what you're doing and you decide whether you want to have raw seams or whether you want to have it nice, clean and tidy. So once you've done that, then you prepare to join the two together. So if you take your front like that, that's my front turned inside out. I take my back, which I have marked like this with a pin. So your buttons are closed on the front of the shirt like that. But because what you've done is you've taken apart you've taken away you've left your seam allowance of 1 centimeter. You put a pin in place there so that you can mark where your actual front is. So once you've pinned the shirt like that, closed with the buttons closed, you fold that part there together and you mark your front. That's your center front there. So then, once that is marked like that, you then join your back to the front. So you have your back marked like that. And I'm joining it right sides together like that. So then you put pin in place like that, and you join it all the way. Now that's why it was good to turn it inside out, because then you can actually pin it and then turn it over the other way around and see what it looks like. Now I have to warn you, every time you cut and try to join two pieces together of the same garment, because you're taking away and maybe one part of it is wider than the other, you might have a problem with some part not being the same size. So don't worry, you can make a pleat in the place where it is becoming a bit tight. So then you join it like that. If the fabric stretches, use the stretch and make that work for you. So mine is not quite coming together properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to become, there was a dart on my shirt, so I'm going to use that to be the point where I create a bit of a pleat to allow the two to come together properly. Like that. Okay, so then do that there. And then do the other side. So take it all the way, put your pins in place. Okay, so then we carry on like that. So now your center back, the front of the shirt, that is the bottom half, will be going into what is your then center back. So then, because you've marked it, it's right there, put your pin in place. So you pin it all the way to the other side. And then do the same. If it's a little bit, just pin it all the way, make a pleat in the middle of the back if it is not quite coming together. So that's the bottom half. The bottom half is usually going to be the one that's wider, but in some places it might be the top. So just adjust it, make it work. Okay, so then your shirt is completed. Now, the reason why we took it to that part, 2 inches under your armhole, is it gives you enough room when you open your buttons to get your head through the top of the shirt. Otherwise, this is not enough to get your head through it. So to have allowed 2 buttons to be opened like that means you can actually get your head through. So this is what we've got. And you have something like this in the end. So the idea here is later you can actually work on this. You can start the process of stitching. You can stitch and you can actually add some detail on here. Once you've stitched it together, you can add a ribbon, you can add embroidery, you can do some embroidering there, or you can actually add applique. You can use some glue-on motifs that you can find in haberdashery and just add some detail to your shirt, add it there, add it to your collar, so that creates some interesting finish. What I'm going to do to mine, I'll tell you what I have planned to do is to, because it looks quite fitted, I want to open it up. So I want to create some kind of drama with it. So I'm going to use a sleeve from one of the shirt we did last week. So if you remember, we cut off our sleeves like that. So what I've done is I've opened up my sleeve. I've cut away the excess there, which is this bit here, which would have been the armhole. I've cut that away, cut it off, and then I have prepared to use this as my side seam here. Now it works really well because the collar is white. So this is actually going to be some interesting detail that is going to add extra, drama that I need here. The buttons are already white, so I don't need to change that. So this creates some interesting finish. So we'll see that when it's finished. So I'm going to then quickly go to the next one I was hoping to do with you today, which is this one. It's very basic. And the reason why this works really well with what we're working on today is the fact that it actually is the same process as what we've just finished. The only difference is when you're cutting your shirt, you're going to cut your shirt right under your armhole, right there. In fact, you might need to go into, what I have discovered is that you don't just do it right under your armhole. It might be better to actually cut it at this point of your shirt, because even though I'll show you what I have done, I've done the things we always do. Take the collar off, which is this here. I've taken the collar off, the collar is off. And then I've also cut down my sleeves. I've cut them down to the one I really want. But then I've cut them down even more because I want to go through here to create my top half of the dress there, that part there. So I have then cut right through. I'm going to cut through there. And then this will then be the top half of my dress. And then what I've also done, just to make it a bit more complicated, and stop me if you have to, I have also joined this shirt to another shirt that I have that very similar. Because they look too much like pajamas, I thought if I just do it, it will look like I'm wearing a pajama something. So making a dress out of this makes a lot of sense. So what I've done is joined the two shirts together, the same process as we did with this one here. The only difference is I've kept the front the same. So the front is exactly the same here. So I have the buttons going down the same way. And because I want to make this a slip of a dress. Now, so I have then cut away the top part of the shirt, which would be the same thing you're going to be doing on there. So I want to make this really long because otherwise it's too short. So that's why I have done that. So another thing you can do, if you cut away using the shirt that you're already, that's already short and you don't have anything to add to the bottom of it, you can use all the sleeves that we've been cutting off all this time of everything we've done, join them together and add them to the bottom of the shirt. And that creates some dramatic kind of hemline. Right. So this is how I've chosen to do it. I've already cut my top off. So what I'm then going to do is I've taken my sleeve, which I've already cut away, and I'll show you what I have done. I've taken the sleeve, cut away the cuff, cut the cuff off like this. And because it's striped, it made my life so easy. So I could get myself some straps to create the straps that I'll be using for the dress. So there you are, for this shift dress. There you are. So I've cut the straps from that. Now, I know I'm going very quickly with this, but I just wanted to give you one last thing. So this is what I've done. I've cut 4 strips that I will then use to make the straps for the dress. So the way you make the straps is you get the right side of the fabric, identify what that is, fold it like that, stitch it together, and then turn it inside out. So the way you turn it is, if you stitch across the top there and use that as a point to use something sharp, but not too sharp, like a pencil, to start your point to then turn it inside out. Can't turn it inside out, don't worry. All you have to do is fold and press like that. And this might be easier. You fold and press, pin together like that. And then you stitch down. And this, I think this is the best way to do it, because turning it out might not be easy. So this is another way of doing it. You fold and pin. There's the 2 sides together, allowing your seam allowances to go on the inside. So your stitching will go on the outside like that. So you stitch there. So there's 2 upcycles. I think you will need a machine. It will work so much better. So then you do that. You come all the way like that. Put your pins in place before you start stitching. And then the reason why I have 4 is I thought it might be better if you have them stitched on the front there and on the back. I mean, stitch them on the back like that. 1, 2, a pair on the back and a pair on the front. And then all you have to do is to tie them together like this to create the length that you want your straps to be. Because if you then stitch them permanently in the front and in the back, you might think, oh, maybe it's not allowing me the freedom to do what I want. So if you have 4 straps like this, it's so much easier. You stitch 2 at the front and 2 at the back, and then you can always tie them and have the length that you want. So it becomes a versatile, garment that you can wear whichever way you want to wear it. Another thing you can do, because it is like this and it totally opens up at the front, you can actually wear it as a skirt. So sometimes you might just want to drape it over your shorts or your leggings. It becomes a versatile piece of garment. And we know that when you have multiple ways to wear a garment, it makes it so much easier to keep and to wear for a very long time. So that's one of the things I thought I would share with you. Now, so once I have done all of that, have my straps ready, all that is done, then I'm going to come back to the place where I have then got my, this is the top of my dress there. So usually the back is lower than the front. So I would leave the front at this point here, but I would drop the back a little bit. So what you then do is just take your shirt, fold it. So we're now on the top half at this point here. This is where we are. The top half of your dress, top of the back there. And so you fold it in half like this. Place it on the table, and then just make sure everything is flat on the table. Take your tape measure and measure 2 centimeters there, and mark it with a pin like that. And then you take your ruler, and then mark it from the side of the shirt to the point where you have your, okay. So then once that is marked, then you take your scissors and you cut that off. So that creates the natural dip that happens in the back of the garment. So it's not just going straight across. So once that is done, then the next thing you're going to do, done. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to then fold. So remember the folding we did to make the folding that we did to make the fold and hem that we did to make the bottom half of the twin set that we did before, the upcycle we did a few weeks ago. You do the same thing. You fold and you leave enough. You don't have to leave too much room, but it's always better if it's not too thin at the top because it handles better and you can fold your straps into it. So there you are, fold that. So I'll go backwards one step. So you need to mark where you want your straps to be. So on this one, I think I want the straps to be halfway down. If you mark on your body, I don't know if you can see me, you mark just above you kind of work out where you want your straps to start on the body. Some like it slightly to the side, some like it quite not too central, just somewhere in between the center of your chest and your shoulders. So here I'm marking it at about 13 centimeters. So from the center of the shirt, you mark 13, get to the 13 point there, and mark it with, you can mark it with a pencil. Mark it with a pencil because that's going to be quicker. So take a pencil, mark it there. On the other side, the same thing, mark it with a pencil. And once that is done, that's the point where you're going to attach your straps. And I'll show you how to do that. So you go through that, use the same point to mark the back of your shirt. So use that to mark the back of your shirt there because it's still folded together. Easier to do that way. So you've marked that there, you mark the back of your shirt as well. That's marked. So what you then do, you take your strap like this, once it's stitched and finished, and you then, when you fold and hem at this point here, you fold your strap into it like that. So what's going to happen when you stitch it this way. When you're done, you will fold it back the other way, like this, and you do another stitch there. So that makes it very secure and makes a very neat finish. And finish is very, very important. One of the things I haven't shared with, when I hope that you have picked up what we're working, is that you must keep pressing, because without pressing, you will not get a good finish on anything you're working on. So this is what happens. You tuck it in there, stitch it down like this. It's tucked in there, stitched in place. When you're done stitching all the way around, you turn it back this way and you stitch it in place. So that way it is hanging straight like that, up like that. And then you do the same for the back here. So I'm just going to quickly do this. It's not ready. And then you take your folded strap like this. You add it in there. That. Like that, turn it up, stitch it down. And then there you go. So that's your straps in place there. So once your straps are in place like that, this is where you take them like this and you tie them, deciding where you want your straps to end, and you create the drama that you want. They can be the size you can have them thin, you can have them thick, you can have them any size you want. It's your shirt, it's your upcycle. You decide how you want it to finish. So there, so now I have my straps there. Thank you for attending this upcycling session with me, and I hope you've learned something. And one of the things that I really appreciate in sharing this is that we carry this forward with us, and no matter what happens, in our lives, we do have these things to fall back. So working with our hands is one of the best things that we can have, and to do something positive where we are changing and making a difference, elongating the life of our garments is such a good way to save and help the environment.